But rental properties to me is just a long-term appreciation play. Like I'm not saying you're going to lose money, but you should expect to basically break even with all your capital expenditures and so on. What is going on? Welcome to another episode of the Jesse Burrel Podcast. I have my boy Tyson Smith with me today. What's going on, bud?
What's going on, Jesse? How you doing?
Pretty good. So today we're going to talk about the passive income in real estate. What's true and what's a myth. I mean, there is so many gurus to talk about today and so many myths and different ways how people think when they're just getting started. So let's kick it off with, what are your thoughts of, passive income in real estate investing? And let's start diving into, does rentals make you a bunch of passive money?
No, there's nothing passive about having a rental property. I think that there are two ways to get passive income in real estate, and it's through leverage or leveraging your capital and leveraging human resources. So when you're a big businessman like yourself and you have a company and employees who do work and they provide goods and services that then make you money, that in a way is passive income, right? Now you still have to run those people or whatnot.
Yep.
But going to buy a rental property, there's nothing passive about it. When all of a sudden your tenant wants to break the lease and they just leave, or they don't leave and then you have to evict them, or the AC is out in the middle of the night, and here in Arizona, all of a sudden that's priority number one. You got to get that fixed. Or their toilet stops working, or all of a sudden the sewer breaks, or the garbage disposal breaks. These are all things that have happened to me. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. That just wiped out how many months of my profit after looking at everything. Buying rentals is great, but if you want to get passive income, that's not what I'd look to.
Yeah, and as someone that has owned hundreds of doors in my lifetime, I would agree with you. And my best advice to someone that is in real estate and, don't get into it for the passive income. There's a lot of ways to make passive income that we can talk about in a little bit. But real estate to me is, and I've talked to Ryan Pineda about this, like to a big degree, if you're not making an active income, at least $500,000 a year, don't go buy rentals. Go do what you just talked about, is leveraging your money with, getting more leads, or leveraging your money with more human resources to continue to grow your active income.
Yeah.
But rental properties to me is just a long-term appreciation play. Like I'm not saying you're going to lose money, but you should expect to basically break even with all your capital expenditures and so on and so forth, to where, yes, it will continue to appreciate and be worth more. And someone is in that unit paying down your principal, which is fantastic, but don't expect to retire on it. Especially if you don't have a whole ton of money.
Absolutely. I think you nailed it. I think that it's a very poor people idea to buy rental properties for passive income. The smart investors, the rich investors, they're buying rental properties for, exactly like you said, principal pay down, their depreciation, the tax benefits,
right.
And then it is a little piggy bank. Hopefully you just see appreciation in the property over time.
Right.
But nobody's getting into it really for the cash flow.
No.
I mean, you're not going to go buy a rental property that cash flows $500 a month that, you're going to go put 20% down on. Even if you're getting into it using some sort of creative finance, like that is not going to replace your income in the foreseeable future.
Right.
The way I see it.
And I mean, I guess if you have a pile of money, just go pay off a bunch of houses or buy houses with cash. But
yes,
there's so many better passive ways to make a higher return than you would that way as well. So
100%.
It's a huge myth, and I think people are like, oh, go BRRRR, or go get your first rental property, or get 10 and Airbnb arbitrage, and you're gonna live this lifestyle. Well, one, I don't know what lifestyle you can live that's awesome on like 90 grand a year or something like that, which would be like an amazing thing to do.
Well, so let's do the math on this. Let's talk about this. Let's say that you want to buy a property, and just for using like easy numbers, let's say that the property is going to be worth 100 grand.
Yep.
And you're putting 20% down. So it's 20 grand for you to get in the property. And let's not even think about anything else, the closing costs, getting the property rent ready, whatever.
Yep.
Let's just say you're 20 G's into this property.
Right.
And would you agree that most people would say that if it cash flows after expenses, everything, right? Your maintenance, your vacancy, everything,
right,
it cash flows $500 a month, which on a $100,000 property would be insane, right?
Correct.
So in that year, that first year, you're making $6,000. So if you put in $20,000 into this, which again, we're being very, very liberal saying this, then you're making what, $6,000 a year.
Without a single problem.
Yeah. So you're making 30% cash on cash year one, which, okay, this is good.
Well, that is good.
See, now I wish that I gave a better example, because this is too unrealistic where I'm actually like, fuck, never mind, give me that deal. I'll buy that for 30% cash on cash. But where I'm trying to go with this is, you actually, when you start to do the math, every single time it just looks better to go put your money in the market and make 10%. Like, that takes you zero. Like, if you're like, oh, I truly want passive income, for the vast majority of people, take that $20,000, put it in the stock market, buy an index fund, buy a REIT if you want to actually passively invest in real estate, and your return is going to be better, and the amount of work you have to do is actually zero.
Okay, so let's, identify the elephant in the room. If you only have $20,000 and you want passive income, you have the wrong mindset.
Absolutely.
So let's go into what we said originally. And originally, what you want to do is, if you have $20,000, find ways with a side hustle or a wholesale business. If we're talking real estate, let's say wholesale business, you should keep compounding your money into your business. As me and Ryan were talking about, is you want to continue to grow your active income.
Yeah.
Active income, active income, active income. Until you're making $500,000 to $1 million a year in active income, you shouldn't worry about anything passive. Literally nothing. Keep putting your money into your business and your employees. That's it. That's what's going to make you the most money. And then you're going to have more money than you know what to do with. Then when you have hundreds of thousands of dollars, either choose to flip and make more active income, or if you're making too much active income, that's when you start considering rental properties.
Right.
That's the only time.
And that is because so that you don't have to pay Uncle Sam so much.
Correct.
Too.
That's it. Like, do not go buy your first rental property to get passive income.
Yeah.
Now, if you want a second property and you're a W-2 employee, or you're doing something like that, and you're just like, you bought a house, you have a low interest rate, you're ready to buy your next house, and you don't want to sell it because you want to have that piggy bank, that's totally fine. But you're not saying, hey, I want in 2 years to not have to work anymore because I have rental properties for passive income. Because that's not going to be the case. These people that are selling you a course, they make their money selling you the course. That's what they do. There's no such thing as passive income buying 10 rental properties. Like, you cannot retire on that. That is bullshit.
I completely agree. And also, you said earlier, what kind of lifestyle do you want to live? Like, how many rental properties you would have to have that are paid off, that are...
That's Zach.
Oh, yeah, true. Exactly. Well, he's the exception, not the rule.
Well, he did over 25 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you want to buy rental properties for 25 years... So our friend Zach Keeps has like 300 single-family rental properties in the Phoenix market, and he still works every day.
And yes, and he doesn't have to, but yes. But what I wanted to get out there was that buying rental properties is most definitely a get-rich-slow scheme.
Yes.
Yes, it's not the worst thing in the world by any means. But expecting that it's going to, all of a sudden, you're going to be able to quit your W-2 job with just your rental income in the foreseeable future is the wrong look. You need to be looking at a 15, 20-year time horizon.
Yeah, if that's what you want to do. I'm not saying don't buy rental properties. Rental properties are great if that's something that you want to do. But don't think in 2 years you're not going to have to work anymore because you have passive income.
Yeah.
That's what these people, like, spew to you to take their course. That's not the case. Like, let's go back to Zach for a perfect example. He bought like between 5 and 10 properties a year for 25 years, and now everyone looks at to him like he did something special. He was just consistent and really good at buying property. That is actually very special, to stay in your lane and do all those things.
Yeah.
He is special, but what I'm saying is you don't have to be super special to do what he did. You have to be very disciplined and stick to a strategy for a very, very long time.
Well, and you know what the other thing is that he's great at buying good deals.
Right.
You know, if you're just some Joe Schmo and you're thinking, oh, I'm going to go on the market and go find a good deal. Sorry, they don't exist right now. Maybe in different markets they have, but right now, no, you have to go look at all the properties listed on the MLS right now. And the only way you make them a good deal is if you're getting them for far under contract what they're listed for.
Right.
Where if you're like Zach and you've built a ecosystem around you where you're getting great deals, you're having wholesalers bring you deals, realtors know you as the guy who is the cash buyer that is going to close.
Right.
Now you can start to make some moves.
Absolutely.
But that's another thing. When it comes to buying rental properties, the real magic for the people who are like, hey, look, I want to get into real estate, I want to make some extra money, is when people talk about burring, right? Sure, that's great, but the wrong thing to think about is, okay, the rental income I'll make later. The right thing to think about is the equity you pull out on the refinance that is tax-free.
Right.
Right? It's like, hey, if you can go, pull out $20,000, $30,000 of equity on these deals, which is reasonable, I would say, in a market like Phoenix, so long as you're getting the good deal.
You have to find the right deal to even
Definitely.
do that.
Well, and this is where you're having to put money into it, right? You have to increase the value and get the appraisal up. But as long as you bought it right, you did a proper level of renovation where you're being able to pull the equity out to refinance, so that's money you made tax-free. So that's better than making a $20,000 wholesale deal.
True.
And plus, you keep the asset if you want, right? So that's where I see, okay, yeah, go do as much of that as you possibly can, but you're limited by how many you can find.
Yeah, but it's just, once you burr and pull that equity out with the interest rates, it's hard to cash flow.
True. But that's where, even if the property breaks even.
Yeah, but if you have to have a bunch of money to do that.
Yes, 100%. Where if you're the guy, well, all of a sudden an AC breaks and it's like, okay, that's $7,000 now. It's like, for how many people can you just go shell out $7,000?
Back to my point, if you're not making $500,000 to $1 million a year of active income, I wouldn't do a lot of these strategies, or buy really, really, really good. And when you pull equity out of a burr, make sure you're at a payment that you're comfortable with if something does happen, that you are cash flowing enough during those months if something breaks. But back to my point, you shouldn't be using that money that you're getting from the rental property to go do a car payment when you have 1 or 2 rentals.
True.
You should have it saved in that account, because something's going to fucking break, or someone's going to move out, or some tenant is going to light the house on fire, which has happened to my buddy Spencer 2 times. Crazy shit happens. Like, absolutely. Spencer Cornelia, he's a big YouTuber, or a pretty big YouTuber. He exposes like scams and stuff. He was just so keen on, he didn't quite make that range that I said of $500,000 to $1 million a year of active income. He went and bought 10 rental properties and was renting out the rooms, and called me 2 weeks ago and he's like, yeah, I sold everything. He's like, it's just I don't make any money and it's not worth the headache. I'm done. Well, in theory, it's always good, dude. Yes. It's always great in theory.
Well, I know. So I have a very smart friend. He's in the military, saves his money, works hard. He's advancing up. He's got a good job in the military and makes good money, and he's saving it away, and he bought a rental property. And I was talking to him last week. We were working out, and he was like, I fucking hate that rental property. He said, all it does is a pain in the ass. It's like, I want the passive income, so I hire the property manager, and then they take a shitload of my profit. And it's like, okay, now I'm not making any money, so I fire the property manager. And now I'm starting to rent it out. But I realize I don't know how to screen tenants. And now my tenants, I'm having to pay to evict. And it's like, I don't even want this thing anymore. And it's like, how many times has that played out?
And that's when the wholesaler comes in and says, how big of a problem is this really for you?
I was like, shoot, how much are you into that property?
What do you owe? What do you owe? You want to take a little L on this?
Yeah. Well, dude, I mean, even I have found myself as a wholesaler who has done hundreds of deals where I've had properties that I'm like, holy shit, I would so take a loss on this. Like if I have the connections I do, and I can go directly to the cash buyer where I wouldn't have to, but I totally see, it was like, wow, like I get it. It made me understand a lot more of these people that we are working with and helping. It's like, dude, people find themselves in very shitty situations with their properties.
That's what's scary about, a lot of these new investors getting into sub twos and stuff like that, to where, you're looking for passive income. Yeah. And I don't think that's the way to do it. It's find the deal, structure the deal, and sell it to an investor that could afford it.
Absolutely. Get your assignment fee, as always has.
Active income up.
Yes.
I'm telling you, the smartest thing I ever did was, instead of going and buying rentals, when I really started making money wholesaling, like real money, like making $50,000 to $100,000 a month in assignment fees, is I started picking off the best deals and flipping.
Yeah.
And then what I finally did is I found rundown, duplexes, single families, triplexes, fourplexes, sixplexes, and then I use the expertise I got in flipping and basically burring those. I would burr those, and then I wouldn't even take out as much of the cash, which I wish I didn't understand the Burr strategy as much back then. So I wish I would have done that, and then I could keep compounding that money.
Yeah.
But I liked having like actual cash flow, like real cash flow.
Right. Well, when you start to get into these,
and keep more equity in the house.
Yes, definitely. When you get into just a better economy of scale when you have multiple units. And then it's like, okay, now the cash flow starts to become more meaningful. It's like, okay, I'm not worried about $500, but for most people, an extra $2,000 a month, okay, that's gonna start to move the needle for people if you're cash flowing $2,000 across 4 units. But like you said, if you keep equity in there, and then in the event that something crazy happens, you gotta fix the foundation or whatever. Okay, you can pull out on the equity, get it done. You're chilling.
Yeah, and for someone that is worth 8 figures. I own no rental properties right now.
Yeah.
I sold all of mine in the peak. So I'm not just sitting here spewing to you guys, are they good or are they bad? I think there's great things about them. For me personally right now, I put a lot of my active income into startup companies and software space, since that's something that I focus on now. Mm-hmm. And then the rest of it is in hard money, which is, in my opinion, the only passive thing that you could actually do in real estate is lending money to other investors. As long as they pay, there's funds you could do, as long as you're collateralized properly, partnering with the right people. It's a great way to make 10 to 12%, even a little bit more sometimes, depending on how risky the circumstance or the deal is, or the borrower is. But I have millions of dollars in hard money, and I have it, dude. We call it mailbox money, like true mailbox money.
It truly is.
I write a check to get a check.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a lot of wealthy friends that do it that way, because I plow all of my money and a lot of my active income still into my business to grow it, because that's what grows my net worth. And one day I'll be able to sell my business, which is worth way more than, buying some rental properties here and there. But when I sell the business, then I'm going to go buy a fuck ton of rental properties.
Yes, but it's because you're going to have a shitload of money.
Just me personally, I think there's benefits and drawbacks, and I'm not saying don't buy rentals. We just wanted to talk about the myths of why it mattered.
I want to talk about hard money, though. I think that truly the best way to go to passive income is going through almost exactly what you just said right there. Learn how to wholesale, increase your active income even further by doing some flips. Once you get to a point where you have a lot of money that's just sitting there that you don't need, let's say $250,000, something like that you can put into hard money. This is genius for a couple of reasons. Number one, it truly is passive. But in the event that your borrower defaults, this is an asset that right? You've been wholesaling, you've been flipping, right? And you underwrote the deal. So it's like now you can easily take that asset because you underwrote it, and you know that if for some reason they default, they mess up, you can take it, finish the job. Now you're off even. That's honestly best case scenario for you.
Right.
So that pipeline right there, from wholesaler to flipper to hard money lender, is like, that's the trifecta.
And I'm in a lucky situation to where I know like crazy operators that have a lot of money and have a lot of rentals, where I'm able to collateralize it. I don't even collateralize it with the house.
It's against the...
I more give them a line of credit.
Yeah.
And then I collateralize that line of credit
against
their hundreds of units that they have, and so on and so forth. And I have long time relationships with these people, so I'm not really concerned. To me, it's just mailbox money.
Yeah, no, that I hadn't even considered that. That's gangster right there. That's the way to do it.
It is, because you're de-risking it, but you're getting closer to 9 to 10% instead of 12 to 15%, because they could go get money for cheaper. But what they like and the value I'm bringing to them is like, this is basically a line of credit. Just
it's whenever you need it.
Just use it, but like they always have to use it, so they're paying on 100% of it.
Oh,
but
really?
They don't have to go transaction by transaction and get new loans and new documents. So it's like they just have this cash where they could go buy, and they can even leverage that cash if they want to use other hard money for all I care, because I have it. I have the right collateral on the notes that I'm giving.
It's protected.
It's protected, exactly. So I'm like, do whatever the fuck you want with it. Like, I don't care. Just make sure that, as long as I know that I'm protected, I just know that they're going to use it, because it's a little bit simpler than having to just get hard money, especially for the guys that flip a ton of houses. Yeah. It just becomes a pain in the dick.
Well, that's next level right there. And it's funny because I'm fortunate enough to get to be around people like you and Zach, and like, it reminds me, I called Templeton, and I had this big plan where I was like, Templeton, I'm going to go buy a bunch of rental properties. And I was like, look, I have this big community. I can leverage, where I can, pay out these people wholesale fees. I can tell them exactly what I'm looking for. I can go do this. And Tim breaks it down to me. He's like, well, why are you doing this? He's like, well, because I want to make more money. And he was like, okay. So he's like buying a house for you and doing all of that work and then making an extra $400 a month. Is that going to help you make more money? I'm like, well, I mean, I guess if I do it at scale. And he's like, well, yeah, sure. And he was like, look, I'm not going to persuade you not to do this because, again, he's like, you're in a position where you have the active income. If something goes wrong, you're not like SOL. But he's like, now, if you just want to invest your money, like you want to feel like, hey, I'm not just blowing all my money on shit. He's like, throw it into hard money. And it seems like that's just a common theme where all the smartest, richest people I know are like, just put it into hard money.
Private money, hard
Yes.
money, same thing. But, that's kind of a slow and steady, but there is downsides with hard money or private money is it is taxed as ordinary income. So you're not getting those tax deductions like you would from a rental property or, you can't, I have a separate LLC with hard money and there's only so many things I could write off into that company. But that's where a lot of people do buy a handful of homes that are able to do something like that to help offset some of that. It's all a tax game. And if you have a great like tax person or financial planner to like work alongside you, that's when you're strategically buying rental properties instead of just buying a rental property for passive income.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm glad you brought up like getting a tax attorney or stuff like that. I want it to be clear to everybody. Don't even think about that until you've done like a deal. I looked through, and one of the most common questions I get asked on my social media from people who are complete beginners are, well, how do I pay taxes on my deals that I do?
Just go get the fucking deal first.
Yeah. So, well, hold on. Are you creating a problem in your head right now that doesn't even exist, that is only going to, will not actually be a problem because you will have already made a shitload of money to where in the event that you did have to pay some taxes, you'd be fine? It's like, yeah, I guess I am. It's like, well, look, when you create these problems, this is a problem with so many beginners, is they start to think of all these other things that eventually one day could happen. And then they're like, oh shit. And they start to overcomplicate it. And the problem is your brain can't tell the difference between these made up problems that might happen one day in the future and real problems that are in front of you. Where the real problem in front of you is, motherfucker, you need to make more money. And it's like, but now you're stopping yourself from ever even getting started doing that because you're worried about these future problems. So don't worry about your taxes or anything like that. Go do your first deal, make $20,000, and then go have a free consultation with by the way, word of advice to everybody, talk to a tax attorney rather than a CPA. They're better.
Yeah, and then when you get to that next level, that's when you're working with financial planners and people like that.
Yeah.
Where like I have a team of people that I get to work with. It's awesome. Like every deal that I talked earlier about, deals that I invest in and like they vet every single person I want to work with. Like,
oh, and they underwrite the investments.
They underwrite the people, the investment, the company, the term. So I'm like, hey, here's my new buddy I want to give $1 million to for hard money. And I'm like, and my buddy's like, hell yeah. I'm like, go talk to my
people. Here we go. They're going to have some questions.
And they came back to me and they're like, no.
Yeah.
And I was like, but he's so fucking cool. They're like, the investment that you have current hard money in, they're like, it's a point or two more that you're arbitraging. They're like, it's on $1 million is like $30,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not collateralized as well as what I currently am invested in. And they're like, is it worth $30,000 to lose $1 million? I was like, no. And I was like, but I really like him. Like, you could still really like him.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to have your money.
Wow. That's so nice to have some people in your corner like that.
They protect, entrepreneurs. We're optimistic.
Yeah,
you get
excited.
When you meet someone that you really like, you want to find ways to work with them.
Yeah.
The people that I have surrounded myself with on my finances, it's their job to protect me from me. That's their job. Protect me from me. And that's what they do. And then after I'm excited and after I get like, oh yeah, they'll bring me down to reality. They'll walk me through like the deal.
Yeah.
And they'll help me make the right decision. Because if I didn't have them, I could be impulsive. We're impulsive. We get excited. Most entrepreneurs are, visionaries. They have a lot of passion. That's just who we are.
Yeah.
And it's nice to have people that could ground you and make sure you don't make mistakes.
I mean, I've obviously always known that you're a phenomenal operator and you're just like great at building teams, but this is really just speaks volume to that. You always know how to cover your blind side, dude. You're always like, hey, I need to get the person who can, take over whatever my drawbacks or wherever I fall short. You got somebody covering that base.
Yeah, definitely on the, financial side. And then on the business side, I have two amazing business partners that are both more on the integrator side, where they go in and do the dirty work. And Annie, who is one of my partners, who oversees like finance and HR, but like, dude, she is she protects like us to the nth degree as well. So I like me and Evo, my other partner, will have some crazy new idea and want to spend this money or do this, or like ready to sign some contract on some new vendor, and she's like, whoa. She's like, did you guys read through? Well, yeah, kind of. Well, yeah, I skimmed it.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm so lucky to have I have strengths that they don't have. They have strengths that I don't have, and that's why we've been so successful and able to grow a company. And we also don't step on each other's toes. There's a lot of people get into real estate or business venture with someone else just like them.
Yeah.
And then when you're partners with someone's going to have to default to doing something that they don't want to do if you have two visionaries.
Yeah. And
it gets really tough because someone's working out of their genius zone and not happy. It's like when you partner with someone, the best book to ever read, I forgot for a second. It's called Rocket Fuel. It's by Gene something. Alex Rocket Fuel. Look it up for me and tell me who it's by. But it really talks about, the visionary and the integrator, and like that's really how it should be, because it's really tough to succeed. You're the visionary, your dad's the integrator. Mm-hmm. Like, let's be honest. I know he has some visionary to him, but you're really that person moving the needle on the vision, and then he's in the background making sure those systems, processes, implementation, and that's why you guys have a father-son duo, and it works so well because of that.
Yeah. Well, so I'm really glad that you mentioned this, because especially when people get into real estate, and I'm kind of a problem with this. I made a video, and basically I was like, hey, here's how you and your best friend can go make $20,000 next month. Now, the only reason I did that is because it's a really good hook, and because I can get you to share it with other people, which makes my video be seen with more people, right? But one thing I want to kind of just caution is, when you're starting this, or a new thing like wholesaling real estate, a lot of people feel like they need a partner. They need a friend that they're going to go do this with.
You do. A lot of the time.
Sure, sometimes. But don't you think sometimes it's just cope? That it's just like you need somebody to reaffirm your belief that you can do this? Like, if you have your best friend who's just like you, and it's like, I don't know. I see it so often where it's like, dude, are you guys doing this together because you feel like you really need each other's help? Or it's just because, like, you want to feel like you're making the right decision?
So I actually, Anthony went through this. Papa's a buddy of mine with Alec Lebec, and they're both getting into it, and they wanted to partner, and like they didn't work, but like what they did, that was really good. So like, let's say, make another video, but say it this way: it's like, find your partner or your best friend to partner with, but don't create an LLC together. Just have like a 50-50 like JV agreement for your first couple deals while you're figuring it out, so you can go make some money.
That's actually a really good point, because then you do have somebody to bounce ideas off,
and
the accountability.
And then when you're ready to have a business, are you guys actually good as partners? Yeah. Split some marketing costs, but don't get married before you date or before you get engaged.
Wow,
like,
that's really good advice.
Then you could get engaged. You guys could you still have separate LLCs. Me, Annie, and Evo, when we started Batch, we each had our own wholesale companies. Dude, we dated for over a year before we did anything like combining stuff together. It's just like, hey, here's the batch money, we're gonna split it up, we each have an LLC, we're both kind of on title or whatever. But no, I think it's great to have someone by your side excited about something new, but you don't set the proper expectations. Like, let's get our first couple deals together, figure out if we work well together. Okay, we worked well together. Okay, let's do a little bit more together and like see what roles and responsibilities each of us want to have. Okay, if that really works, great. And if it doesn't, just go your separate ways. Or if you're like carrying the load and they're not putting in the work that you're putting in, then you've gotten those couple deals and you're like, hey man, I'm just going to do my own thing. But just set those expectations early, because I think a good friend, they're going to push you and you're going to push each other over that edge to at least get started and do the calling together and not feel like you're just grinding alone and being scared. You have someone by your side.
You know what? You completely changed my mind on this, because I was so against it for the longest. And this is somebody who, you know, I'm obviously partnered with my dad, like, but for the most part, I always thought about it, I'm like, this is cope. Like, you're just looking for somebody to like hold your hand, tell you it's okay. But now that I think about it, you're so right. And I think if you do it that way, that really is the best way. And also, this is a perfect litmus test. If you're thinking right now, well, how can I trust that this person is, you know, actually, you know, not going to screw me over? It's like, oh, well, there we go. You just answered it. That's not your business partner. You can't even trust them without, you know, having a signed contract.
And some people just want to get started on their own. But I'm saying if you want your best friend and you're both interested in something, then go start it together. Go start your journey together. Split, you know, whatever marketing and whatever, and have some type of like little JV agreement in place to where it's notarized and you're protected to some degree, right? You're obviously probably not going to have a bunch of extra money. But I've seen people do it successfully, and I've seen people do it very unsuccessfully to where we're partners, we're doing everything, and a year later, they're both making a lot of money, and then egos get in the way, and all these problems start happening, and then neither of you are making money because you're fighting over money. Yeah. And you shouldn't have been partners in the first place. You just should have maybe got started together and worked together to learn the business.
Should have dated, just like you said.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't. I mean, you proposed to your soon-to-be wife well after you dated for quite a long time. I mean, she's pretty hot, so I would propose even sooner if I were you, but... You know, it's just you have to treat business the same. It's a relationship, and it's a long-term relationship.
It's huge. It's, I would say, just as important as your significant other.
You spend more time with your partner than your significant other, typically.
Right. Well, if you're actually making money moves, then yeah.
All right, so next topic. Let's talk myths a little bit further. Let's talk about, you are a real estate coach. You help people get started. Mm-hmm.
Very successfully.
Very successfully. So I might battle with him a little bit here, actually. Let's talk about the myth of overnight success versus reality on when you're getting started in real estate.
So I have plenty of examples of people who have come in and, like, I have a student who in his first month made $75,000. His first month in my program. Now, I'm not going to tell you that you're going to come join and you're going to make 75 grand, because the difference between you and him is this guy also had a year under his belt of trying to flip properties. And during that time, he didn't make a lot of money. But you know what he did make? Was a fuck ton of cold calls, which got him experience on getting on the phone. And so while he came in, and sure, you guys are both starting from zero.
But that's not getting started.
True. But I'm saying
getting started, because he already put in a year of work. So that's he did not have overnight success. He had a year of grinding.
Yes.
And then he saw that success. But people get in, and that's what that first year is. There's no, like, you may get lucky, like, but most of you that get into wholesaling or trying to real estate invest, you quit. It's like that iceberg effect. You quit before you get above, you know, the water.
Yes. Well, here's the thing. The best way to think about this is, in the beginning, you need to realize you're getting paid in experience before you get paid in dollars. And, like, so my system, when I'm bringing somebody in who's a complete beginner, they want to go get their first deal, I always have them start cold calling. And I think that that's 100% what they should do. And they say, well, Tyson, when I see you calling, you know, sometimes you're calling leads that your VA has called for you, or these inbound digital marketing leads. Like, I want that. And it's like, well, listen.
Can't afford it.
Well, not even that, but it's like, look, even if you had.
You don't even know how to do it.
If you had $30,000 to dump into marketing, I still wouldn't have a beginner do that, because you're going to mess it up. You could get on with like the hottest lead ever, and all of a sudden it gets time to sign the contract, and you start to piss on your nuts because you're freaking out and you don't know what to do. You need to build up that experience of getting comfortable on the phone and making these calls. And that's why you start with cold calling, right? And then, yes, once you get comfortable, then you can start doing these other things. But it's like, you need to realize that in the beginning, you're getting paid with experience. Right. I talk about when I got my first deal, it took me 2 months. But if I had talked to that lead.
You also had your dad.
I did. But still, I mean, he it wasn't like he was sitting there with me. He was like, hey, look, call these people.
Yeah, no, I know.
Say this, and then, right? I found this guy. And I know that if I had talked to him my first day, I probably wouldn't have gotten it locked up, because I would have fumbled around and fucked it up somehow because I didn't have the practice.
Yeah, but let's not talk like your coaching in general. I don't want to plug you for the next 20 minutes. But let's just talk about, you know, kind of like what people see online of really, you know, saying having that overnight success versus, because a lot of these, you know, gurus or yourself, like, it's not overnight success. It's a ton of grinding. all these people that are wanting to get started, like I was there. I was broke. I was serving tables, and I wanted to do more with my life. And you just see all these people and all this success, and it's just overwhelming. You're like, how do I do that?
Yeah.
And no one has overnight success. It's a ton of grind, and then you're seeing their highlights and the fruits of all the work that they put in.
Right.
So just understand that you better be willing to really focus on the journey instead of the result, because the result, if you're going to really put the work in, get the right mentors, do all those little things that need to be done, you will be successful. Most people will be to some degree, more others than not. But it's not overnight success ever. I've never seen someone just instantly be crazy successful. So just know that, be patient when you're getting started, and like, don't get in real estate investing for the money. Get into it to help people buy and sell houses, to be a problem solver, to want to make a community nicer by flipping houses in bad areas and driving up the values and putting, good families into these homes. Like, you have to have a bigger purpose than money. If it's money, you're not going to stay motivated.
Well, and I think it's like, you have to realize that when it comes to being successful in this, like, you're not special. It's not like you have some deep fucked up thing that's going to prevent you from being able to figure it out, because it's a repeated process. It's like, there are certain inputs where if you go through, you learn how to do this, you make the calls every single day, you're going to eventually get the output of getting the deal, making the money, doing whatever it is. And it's like, if you just do that, you're going to get this same result. Like, now it might take you longer or it might take you longer faster depending on certain natural inclinations or whatnot.
Right.
But it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of sticking with it and staying consistent. But like you said, I mean, me personally, when I thought about, like, okay, I want to get into real estate, it was 100%, it's because I wanted to make money, right? But I didn't have success until I kind of fell in love with the process of being like, yes, real estate is the vehicle, but I'm myself getting better. Like, I'm learning these skills. I'm becoming a better communicator. And like, I'm getting better at, my analytical skills of being able to look at a property and learn about it and do these things. And it was like, those are the things that eventually really allowed me to start making more money. Right. It was, but it was when I really like became obsessed with that. It's like, how do I improve myself to where I became this person that's capable of making more money? And it's like, that right there. I mean, I tell people, I'm like, if you just want to get into something that's going to force you to level up yourself, I think real estate's perfect, because it forces you don't have a boss most of the time. You have to be accountable to yourself, unless you have a really great mentor who's going to help you with that. And then you become the type of person who is capable of doing these things.
That's true. That's a good point, because everyone gets into something because they want to make, more income or more money for whatever reason, their family, lifestyle, so on and so forth. But my point was, to what you just said, is falling in love, with the process. And I think the biggest thing that really helped me become and get to the success level that I got to is always, and still today, is curious to learn, being eager to just soak up knowledge that I could get from people that are smarter than me, that have experienced more from me. And I know you do that with your students in coaching, but like, I still look for that all the time. Like, I haven't figured it all out. I have so many weaknesses that I have to continue to work on. And how could I lean into my strengths like even further? But like, if you're wanting to be an entrepreneur or even a side hustle for real estate, it's like really fall in love with the process and the community and the people. And like, money will find you. But like, fall in love with what you said, is like how it's just there's so many cool things that you get to learn with how to underwrite deals and like put your math skills and your critical thinking. And then especially when you're wholesaling, like most of the time you're dealing with people that are in really shitty situations where you have to be very empathetic to their situation, and you really want and need to help solve their problem. It shouldn't all be about the money. Of course, you should get paid for your time and your service to help somebody. There's nothing wrong with that. But making it too transactional is very short-sighted in my opinion.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know people who are like, they're willing to do anything to get the deal, and they will resort to some shady tactics, but those people don't last. Like,
correct,
karma will come take care of you.
Yeah,
like any industry has bad apples, but wholesaling obviously gets a bad rap. People are like, oh, you're taking advantage of people, you're stealing their equity, da 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 da. It's like, okay, I mean, look, all the pawn shops down the street are completely fine, you know, but me over here doing the same thing with the house is now a problem. But it's like, look, if you're actually, you know, are taking somebody who's put themselves in a bad, you know, spot, and you realize that this is the logical way forward. Like,
right.
Look, I talked to somebody, you have a disgusting house, it's filled with shit, you don't have any money to clean it out and fix it, and then, you know, stage it, make it nice, sell it on the market. It's like, but you have to go. It's like, what is your other option, right? Like, you need to work with a wholesaler, somebody who's going to be able to get rid of this house for you. Whereas, I don't know, if you start to, you know, you're doing some nasty things, preying on old people, telling them things that aren't real, it's like, that's going to come back and bite you in the ass.
And it's also not your fault that you have relationships with people that are willing to pay more money than you are.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you spent years meeting those people, getting to know those people.
Yeah.
These homeowners don't have those relationships. It's not like you're just like, oh,
yeah,
here you go. This person will pay 30 grand more than what I'm willing to pay. Like, no, you have a business and you built relationships and you are a middleman. That is your job. You're agreeing with this seller of like, hey, here's your situation. I'll make sure I get you this amount of money. I'm either going to take it or I'm going to find a partner or someone that I know in my sphere that will pay more. Are you good with that? It's that simple.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny.
Be transparent.
It's funny. Well, I mean, I have in my contracts in black and white, I'm a wholesale buyer. I'm looking to assign this contract for a profit. It's in big letters just before they sign. And it's like, people are okay with that? And it's like, yeah, because I'm honest with them. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to get you this money for it. I'm going to go make money, though. Like, sue me. Right? But,
they will.
Yeah.